Father Christmas in there.
Jesus, that's loud.
He's got satires, he's got whatever.
If you turn it down, I won't be able to hear it at all. I can barely hear it at the volume I turned it up to because of the water.
The Grand Turks, the Grand Magi.
It's because it's so much closer to you than it is to me.
And then, I love as well, they've set up 2 internal tribunals.
Okay, but it's like drowning me out in here.
You've done something wrong.
Okay, fuck me then, I don't need to hear.
You're tried by the Council of Centaurs. So they also issue a formal statement of the clan's purpose. Now, you mentioned Walter Scott.
What you need to do
This is an institution.
is change the way you're doing the dishes so that you don't need to have the water running constantly, like the way that I do it.
It's fine, just turn it down. I'll figure it out.
I already did.
Mercy and patriotism, embodying its genius and its principles, all that is chivalric in conduct, noble in sentiment, generous in manhood, and patriotic in purpose. Its goals are to protect the weak, the innocent, and the defenseless from the indignities and wrongs and outrages, the lawless, the violent, and the brutal. But presumably, when it says
get a year of Coursera Plus for $239 and start building the skills to move your career forward. Earn job.
It got stuck in the branch that was growing on, and then it also has ground
institution of chivalry, humanity, mercy, and patriotism, embodying its genius and its principles, all that is chivalric and conduct. So this is how it works. If you're an ordinary member of the Ku Klux Klan, you are a ghoul, and you belong to a den. And each den is headed by a Grand Cyclops and 2 Nighthawks. Well, not 2 Nighthawks. Yeah, 2 Nighthawks, not just one. There is the Grand Giant of the Province and 4 Goblins. Then above them, there's the Grand Titan of the Dominion and 4 Furies. Then there's the Grand Dragon of the Realm. The realm is the state. And there's 8 Hydras. And then above them, there is the Grand Wizard of the Empire and his 10 genie. And the Empire is the American South.
You know what it is? It's people who hate personally and it has their power. It's what those people do.
It's all sorts of C.S. Lewis, isn't it? Because C.S. Lewis broke everything out. He's got Father Christmas in there, he's got satires, he's got whatever. That's what this is. Because there's a whole lot of other options that I don't really know where they fit in. There's Grand Turks, the Grand Magi, there are Grand Sentinels, and then what I love as well, they've set up 2 internal tribunals, which tries you if you're an officer. And if you're just an ordinary ghoul, then you are tried by the Council of Centaurs. So they also issue a formal statement of the clan's purpose. Now, you mentioned Walter Scott. This is classic Walter Scott. This is an institution of chivalry, humanity, mercy, and patriotism, embodying its genius and its principles, all that is chivalric in conduct, noble in sentiment, generous in manhood, and patriotic in purpose. Its goals are to protect the weak, the innocent, and the defenseless from the indignities, the wrongs and outrages, the lawless, the violent, and the brutal. But presumably, when it says the weak, the innocent, and the defenseless, it's not referring to former slaves. No. This is defending the tyranny of the former slaves and their allies in the Republican Party. It's a small textbook stuff. We are the forces, nostalgia, chivalry, the values of old England and the old country against the soulless machine in northern capitalism. And also, we are the victims. Oh yeah, we are the victims is so central to all and actually, suddenly people listen to this will say, yeah, very racist, it's not very racist about this. But the 10 questions that you have to answer to become a ghoul rather give the game away. Have you ever belonged to the Republican Party? Did you serve in the Union Army in the war? Do you oppose black equality? Do you support the constitutional rights of the South? And what that basically means is, are you on board to reverse the result of the war, to reverse the process of reconstruction into white supremacy and the subordination of African Americans? And a few weeks after this Maxwell House meeting, this group gets its figurehead. And the figurehead is the first and only Grand Wizard of the First Clan. And this is another form of Confederate general making bed forests.
So he's top hunter.
It's the Grand Wizard. You can't get bigger than the Grand Wizard. Are you following that administrative chart, Tom?
So there isn't a kind of Sauron equivalent.
No, he is Sauron. He is Sauron. He completely is. So making bed forests is fantastic. He's a former plantation owner. He's a former slave trader. He really, rocketed up in the Confederate Army. He enlisted as a private and was a cavalry general, and he was nicknamed the Wizard of the Saddle in his swashbuckling style.
So wizardry is very much his thing.
Very much his thing, although there is a dark side. So Northerners saw him as a war. There was one particular incident called Fort Pillow in 1864, where the England garrison was surrendered. Many of its troops were black, and Nathan Bedford Forest's men had allegedly tortured and then hacked them to death, hundreds of them, after they had surrendered. Historians still argue about this, but my personal view is he definitely did it. Nathan Bedford Forrest entered the war, fighting down in the deep south. He disbanded his troops when he heard about Robert Lee's surrender. So actually, the fact that he gave up so late adds to his luster for the Southern public. Like a lot of former Confederate officers, he then put his name to railroads. So he's become a sort of railroad speculator. It's not clear whether he volunteered to join the Klan or he invited or either way. Because, for the white Southern public, Nathan Bedford Forrest is the incarnation of a swashbuckling Confederate officer who fights to the very end. But he's really just a figurehead. That's the point with all the Klan, actually. It's like, local groups like all general never really know strong. Yeah, how do you stamp it out when there's no one to hold the person to talk to? So now we've got to the summer of 1867, just before the post-war. And the Klan is still very low times, but it was definitely now becoming a public. So the Pulaski Citizen newspaper started regular reports on Klan meetings. On the 5th of June 1867, that's 75 Klansmen marching from the town across the road and reporting the local paper.
Hello?
Oh my god.
What?
They're trying to do a southern accent.
Tom's southern accent is the stuff of legends. Everyone, it's like every fifth comment is, "I'm dying at Tom's southern accent."
Yeah, interesting now that they're not all dressed alike. So there's no difference. They're wearing white robes. They are wearing basically wearing fancy dress.
I wonder if he knows that Southerners are capable of talking fast. Like, but he can't. He can't maintain the accent and also talk at a regular speed. He has to focus too much on changing the way the words
he either
come
can't
out.
or doesn't like to. But
Okay, if he doesn't like to, then that is an extreme level of racism against Southern Americans.
no, I think it's genuinely really. He will acknowledge himself. He absolutely sucks at doing a Southern accent.
No, we can all see that. Yes.
So the fact that he can barely do it in the first place, he's like,
He's struggling. Okay, he's struggling just to act like to physically accomplish the task.
yes,
okay?
he's just much too British. I mean, and I think he's actually better at it than the other guy who doesn't.
Oh, the other guy is going to do it too?
No, he doesn't. No, he wouldn't. He doesn't even try. Presumably because he knows he's much too British.
Well, fuck me.
Sometimes the other guy does voices, but by comparison, it's rare. But he does like different kinds of voices. I don't know.
If he's ever done a Southern accent.
Yeah, he does an American accent sometimes.
Yes, he did one earlier in the episode.
Yeah, and I personally think it's not a terrible.
It's not
American accent.
grating to hear.
No, it's
unlike
Unlike
other
unlike
people.
Tom, yes. Yeah. Dominic. We love Dominic. We love a good Sandbrook.
And that is so sinister, isn't it? I mean, it's so sinister. It's kind of like they're dressing up as clowns or something, which they will be doing in due course. But I mean, it's much more frightening to be attacked, I think, by, you know, a bunch of people dressed up as clowns, say, than just by your everyday clown.
Yeah, I guess that is true, actually. If the clown beat you up, that'd be really terrifying. That'd be absolutely frightening. Now, at this point, they haven't yet really started beating people up. Tennessee has elections that August, but they're quite quiet. Now, why is that? It's actually because the local sort of ex-Confederates are hoping, madly, it's a sign of how much they've internalized their own rhetoric. They are hoping that their former slaves will vote with their masters. They're sort of saying to themselves, well, they know what's best for them. They'll decide. They never really disagree that much. They'll probably vote yes. Anyway, as the Republicans win a quick clean sweep, among the white Southerners was the census. This society is very numerous and seems to extend all over the country in the county. They march about the streets thoroughly disguised in uniform. I'm credibly informed they are heavily armed. I'm sure they're capable of great mischief if they undertake it. The best citizens here say this Ku Klux Klan is got up by the young men mainly for fun, and they never intend to interfere with anyone. This may well be true, but I doubt it mightily. The Klan is poised to expand now from a few counties of central Tennessee. It is now intending to burst out of Tennessee to every state in the form of Confederacy. And for all its talk of honor and chivalry, the Ku Klux Klan is about to unleash a rage.
Life works the same way. Mine is your greatest competitive advantage.
I just got my laptop for my degree at Maestro. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's really
This episode is brought to you by Claude by Anthropic.
Now, Tom, you and I, when we're together, we always argue about one thing, don't we? It's the existence or otherwise of the Loch Ness Monster. But you, foolishly, are sceptical and you don't think that there is a monster beneath the freezing waters of that Scottish loch.
Because, as I know from AI, a plesiosaur would not be able to survive in Scottish waters and just be too cold for it.
And Tom, this back and forth is what makes studying history so fun, and actually Claude was made for this kind of thing.
The Deep Research feature can pull from dozens of sources at once. It can surface contradictions between them, and it can give you a full breakdown with citations so that you can trace the evidence yourself. It's like having a research partner who's read literally everything and wants to chat about what it actually means. So very like Dominic.
Try Claude for free at claude.ai/rest is history.
The Ku Klux Klan are called upon to castigate or kill any coloured cutters who may approve the Constitution being concocted by the contemptible carpetbaggers at the Capitol.
Oh my
The
God.
Klan is commanded by a carnivorous cur who collects his comrades with care and caution commensurate with the magnitude of the cause. Whenever convened, they must correctly give four countersigns. These are: kill the coloured cuss, clean out the carpetbaggers, crush the convention, carry conservatism, confusion, Congress, Confederates will conquer. So that is an insane article in a Virginia newspaper, the Richmond Dispatch, in the spring of 1868. And what I could not adequately convey is the degree to which all the words which begin with C in conventional spelling, they are given K's in the printout of that section from the newspaper.
Yeah, so we've moved on a few months.
Okay.
Sort of, we were in 1866. we moved to
Ridiculous.
1868, and that is from, you said it was from Virginia, so we moved outside Tennessee. Ku Klux virus, as some papers call it, has spread beyond the borders of its original state, and as that article shows, actually, It is much more overtly racist and violent even now than it was 18 months or so ago. Now, a lot of this is down to clash conflicts. There was a power struggle in Washington between President Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's successor from Tennessee, and the so-called radical Republicans in Congress. So first of all, Congress secured the passage of the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment extends American citizenship to anybody born in the United States, including former slaves. They are now American citizens. The 14th Amendment mandates that no state can deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That due process of law. So much constitutional argument in the last kind of century has come down to those words and what you can or cannot do to somebody. From the working constitution, Congress. I don't agree with anyone leaving. And the 14th Amendment also guarantees all citizens equal protection under the law. Again, what that means will be tested. The radical Republicans tried to get rid of President Johnson. They impeached him, and he survived by just one vote in the Senate, so he's clearly won. But they have all the momentum now in the power. Between spring 1867 and early 1868, they went further and they passed 4 Reconstruction Acts that went way beyond not just Johnson's plans for the South, but almost certainly what Abraham Lincoln was planning. So now, put under martial law and governed by the United States Army. And elections will be held under military supervision so that black men can vote. Anyway, that basically said, it's 2.5 years since the end of the war. The South has proved incapable of behaving itself. We are reimposing martial law. Now, this is very exciting for your country. You will be able to exercise your rights as an American citizen and cast your vote. And so there's a great rush to enroll in things like the union leagues and local Republican organizations on the part of the free vote and nobody will stop. So when the southern states hold elections in the first half of 1860, the results very heavily favor the Republican Party. Sure, you want the battle, but we will roll this. And they have 2 weapons. First weapon is very simply time. So if you're a white Democrat, you say to yourself, I will never do it. This is absolutely existential. It's central to my way of life and my sense of myself. And that will work on 3 levels. First of all, violence to intimidate African Americans away from the polls. Secondly, violence to the more violent you are, the always think like that. They often don't double down and say, well, we'll send more troops. They actually say, God, what a mess in the mind now. Let's just call it a day. If I hand that That doesn't sound very frightening. They're very frightening. No, they're terribly violent. I mean, you don't want to be on the wrong side of the knife. They were found in New Orleans and extremely violent. Life insurance for widows and whatever. And whenever he's there, he will meet local bigwigs and will meet other Confederate veterans, other officers like him who don't like what's happened to the South. And they will set up, after he's left, other paramilitary groups like the Klan to defend the South against the horrors of radical Reconstruction. And these, I think, I get the impression that a lot of the people who end up becoming grand dragons, grand titans of the Southern Klan are ex-kind of Clinton buddies, war comrades and whatnot, who've made them event forest. If he's visited in his life insurance duties, inspired them to set up their own plan.
Do you think you bundled in a title with the life insurance? Take it out and you can be a grand gnome.
Right, exactly. But actually, I think the biggest influence in spreading the Klan is actually just the newspapers, the Southern Democratic newspapers. So they are regularly reporting during 1868 Klan's activities in Tennessee. And they're basically saying, in Tennessee, there's this group called the Klan, and hurrah for them, they are fighting back against the tyrannical imposition of black rule. So this is the Richmond, Virginia Inquirer and Examiner in March 1868. It said that the Klan was, the height mask was at the purpose as resolute, noble, and heroic as that which Brutus concealed. Beneath his mask, a well-descended idiocy.
Is that fair to Brutus? It's great to have Brutus back on the show, isn't it? Because he was much like my booze, and he is the leader of the Roman Republicans throughout the monarchy. This is the first Brutus, the Brutus who leads the rebellion against the monarchy.
Oh, against talking about.
Because he disguised himself as an idiot. So I think that's what's going on there. So the idea that they're dressing up in kind of ludicrous costume, they're disguising the fact that secretly they're ludicrous kids.
Yes, and the funny thing is that they don't think they're the conspiracy, they think the conspiracy is something else. Because as this Richmond newspaper says, the conspiracy is a secret movement of conspiracy of the establishment in the Negro generation. So, to all these questions, what kind of people? So first of all, the Klan does not thrive in places where there are lots and lots of obvious reasons. If it's a place that backs the union, for example, there are never going to be anything to
Upwork is the world's best freelance talent, right at our fingertips. We need an AI chatbot for customer service. Upwork's AI combs through thousands of freelancers to help match us with the perfect person for the project. Today is chatbot. Tomorrow,
We're building an app.
love that for us.
Get a match, get moving. Upward.
Did you know that our food system is basically designed to be wasteful? We grow so much food in the U.S. that goes to waste. That's one of the big reasons why I started Mystic Market. I got the idea when I was looking at apple orchards. I saw all these apples that weren't going to get eaten. On farms, fruits and vegetables get tossed for so many different reasons. When they have a funny shape, when they're too big or too small, or even when they have just too many cells. And it's mostly because traditional grocery stores don't want to buy these products. They only want the best looking stuff. And it's not just fresh produce. It's the parts of the salmon that just aren't as popular. It's cookies when they get new branding and new packaging. It's pasta noodles when they get packaged in the wrong box. At Mystic Market, we buy all that perfectly good food. And we pass on savings to our customers. We've rescued nearly 200 million pounds of high quality.
Also, people are going to set up a clan somewhere where they are massively outnumbered by freedom. So in the Mississippi Delta. In the Mississippi Delta, black people outnumber white by 3 to 1. You'd be mad to set up the clan there because really, you'd get beaten up. You'd be on the wrong side of that fight. Basically, the clan ends up being set up where black and white populations are roughly equal, or where whites are slightly outnumbered.
And they can do that because the whites have ready access to weapons.
The whites, by and large, they have access to weapons and better weapons. They are richer, they are more powerful, they are better protected, they have more resources, all of those kinds of things.
And I suppose also they have control of the legal system.
Yes, of course. Sheriffs, judges, all of those kinds of things. They have all the levers of power. Because all that has changed, to some degree, it's a massive change, is that people who were once slaves are no longer slaves. They're still living in their land, they're still living in kind of wooden cabins, shacks and things. Land has not been redistributed. They've not been given the initial promise was they never were given them. They are still very powerless. So of course, if there's a conflict, they will always be at a massive disadvantage.
And the legal system, as well as weaponry, can be used to terrorise them.
Yes, which it will be, exactly. Now, as for the kind of people who join the clan, probably the majority are very ordinary kind of farmers and labourers, but there are lots of accounts of lawyers and doctors and professional people joining. As Alan Trelease says in this brilliant book on the clan, the thing is, all classes of the White South have been complicit in slavery. All classes of the White South defended and all classes of the South during the Civil War. I think your point's about fun there is important. So if we were having a conversation simply young men with plenty of leisure on their hands with great love of adventure in their soul and they're young men who like fighting, who like adventure, who like dressing up, who like, beating people up. I think that's definitely part of it. That element of being exciting in a world of not being written. lots of stuff like ghosts, graveyards. Put on your skates and cross over to Mother Earth.
Well, I suppose it said that hell was just Tuesday.
I'm just too stupid to understand the crucial message. And actually, the clan becomes this kind of mad popular craze, as weird as that sounds. So people set up Ku Klux junior baseball teams. There is a song called the Ku Klux Midnight Roll Call, and there is Ku Klux merch. So you can buy knives, you can buy paint, you can buy, this is the maddest one, a Ku Klux smoking tobacco pack that contains the spirits of 100 faithful KKKs with an accurate and attractive full-length portrait of the great Grand Cyclops. So this makes the whole thing sound like a joke. And there is still an element of, you describe it as japery. So they never burn crosses, the first round, but they do play weird practical jokes on their black neighbours. So they will dress up in these sort of frames that make them look like 12-foot tall ghostly figures and they intimidate the freedmen. They will do stuff like, I mean, this is so deranged. They will put on detachable hands and force black people to shake their hand on the street and the hand will come off. Or their favourite trick, it just sounds so weird, they will strap a sort of bottle to their chest underneath their hood of their robes, and they will pretend to drink gigantic quantities of water. How does that work? Because basically you're pouring it into your, if you're watching a video, you can see you're pouring this water into your hood, and then you've got a concealed.
Oh, I see.
You've got a concealed bottle, so it looks like you're drinking an unearthly quantity of water.
And if you forget to do it, then they won't be your robes in the
Right, very good. Now, in the early 20th century, historians who were sympathetic to the lost cause of the Confederacy claimed that these tricks were brilliant and that they terrified African Americans and they stopped them voting and they helped redeem the South from the horrors of Reconstruction. But historians now generally say the idea that the freedmen were taken in by these sort of tricks is itself a racist myth. As Alan Trelease says, this is actually a story not about black superstition about ghosts. It's a story about white superstition about black people. Because it basically, the Klansmen are playing these tricks and laughing and saying to each other, gosh, the African Americans are so gullible, they're taken in by my detachable hand. In reality, of course, the African Americans aren't taken in by it at all, but they're just terrified that if they don't play up the game, if they don't pretend to be frightened, then they'll be beaten up or killed or whatever.
I mean, it's bad enough meeting a practical joker, but meeting a practical joker will kill you if you don't laugh at his joke. That's the worst.
Exactly. The emphasis on these cruel jokes is.
What did he say?
It's by December of 1868, where the Klan is really about his violence. So this is why the Klan.
He said it's bad enough to meet a practical joker, but to meet a practical joker who will kill you if you don't laugh at their joke.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Yes, objectively the
Good
worst,
point,
for
Tom.
sure.
Not the dressing up. Not the
Say, what are we, 4?
2? Are we 2? 3?
Thousands of people, the vast majority of them black. Like the Klan itself, the violence really begins in earnest in Tennessee. In 1868.
Frankly, I think my 2-year-old behaves better than that.
Most 2-year-olds do.
Maury County, which was south of Nashville. Apparently these attacks at night, be about a dozen hooded men, and they would target isolated rural homes, black residents. They would target them. Sometimes they've been accused of crimes, often because they were outspoken, insolent.
The most that my son is going to do if you don't laugh at his practical joke is go,
sometimes
Yeah, he's just gonna assume you didn't understand, and therefore try to make you understand, and then just cry if you never do.
Yeah. And by never, I mean like in 30 seconds or less.
Yes.
Not always. So there are attacks on children or on pregnant women. Often you be beaten with sticks.
He's like, I'll try to tell you 3 times. If I have to tell you a 4th, I'm crying.
Yeah, 3 strikes and I'm out.
Yes.
Columbia, Tennessee, by Klansmen, they garroted him and then they tied a stone around his neck to make him into the river. There was another man called Henry Fitzpatrick. He'd been accused on the basis of no evidence of setting fire to some barns. He was lashed 200 times one night, and then the next night the Klansmen came back and they hanged him. Then a third example, black veteran of the Union Army. So when he takes every Klan target box, he's black, and he fought for the North in the Civil War. It's Clinton Drake, and he is dragged from his house and hanged. And the Klansmen then proclaimed a warning. They said, all Union veterans will heed his example or you will face the same fate. And as time goes on, the Klan becomes more and more public about all this. So in July 1868, there's a parade on the 4th of July, actually, in the town of Columbia. And Klansmen ended up fighting a pitched battle, about 150 Klansmen, with 30 armed freemen who had hidden their guns from the Klan's regular sweeps. That goes back to your question, Tom, about our freedmen armies. Yes, some of the freedmen do have guns. The Klan will search for them. These freemen have hidden them, and they end up having basically a battle. And the result of this is that it radicalises the black population of the county. They all basically pile in on behalf of the Klan, and the black men flee. They flee into the countryside, and for the next few weeks, the Klan are basically scouring the countryside for these guys. When they find them, they lynch them. Some of them managed to escape to Nashville, but most of them didn't.
And Dominic, are the Klan targeting black people who are literate?
Yes, absolutely they are. We'll talk about this in the next episode, actually, about how the Klan target black people who can read and write, black people who want to be teachers, people who are ministers, people who are active in the community, basically anybody who challenges the idea that black people are inherently subordinate and inferior. Even if you do too well, if you're too good at farming, if you own your own livestock, they will come after you because you are challenging the principles on which their sense of the world is based.
So it's like the Spartans and the Mycenaeans, or the Nazis with the Poles. If you're literate or if you are high-ranking, you're toast.
So the million-dollar question is why the authorities don't stop it. And the obvious answer is that it's just very, very difficult. You can't rely on local law enforcement because so many sheriffs and whatnot are sympathetic to the Klan. And we know that basically in every case where black people try to go to the courts to get justice, they cannot get a sheriff to arrest, they can't get a grand jury to indict, they can't get attorneys to prosecute, and they can't get jurors to convict. So all of this puts a lot of pressure on the government of Tennessee, Parson Brown. He's in a real bind because his Republican legislature in Nashville is very anxious about alienating white opinion by sending in the state militia. Because if they send in the state militia, that means basically arming a lot of African American volunteers, which is the one thing that's guaranteed.
Well, you might say what?
I mean, I think you could reasonably say, so what? I mean, I think a lot of radical Republicans would say, come on, what are you going to lose? The Klan and the white supremacists are in arms already.
I mean, they're not going to vote Republicans, so it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. At first, his instinct is to send for federal troops. So he sends for federal troops. The infantry company of the US Army sent to Columbia, Tennessee, but they are totally useless because Washington is telling them work with the local authorities, and the local authorities are, of course, on the side of the Klan. So by the summer of 1868,
Join Google Play Wireless and get the all-new Pixel 10a on us. Sign up for unlimited premium, our most popular plan, and get max.
Producers, this plugin helps you finish your tracks way faster. Check this out. I'm going to start with this loop that I made here. And I'm going to use Co-Producer.
law and order in Middle Tennessee is very close to breaking down. And the Freemen's Bureau reports to Washington, and I quote, "The colored people are leaving their homes and fleeing to the towns and large cities for protection. Unless something is done immediately, the cities will be flooded by poor, helpless creatures. The Ku Klux organization is so extensive and so well organized and armed that it's beyond the power of anyone to exert any moral influence over them. Powder and ball is the only thing that we can put down." And Brownlow himself is finally run out of patience. He calls for a special session of the state legislature, and he says, look, we've given them every chance, and they've not one of them has been punished. They've carried out thousands of crimes with impunity. So they pass a bill that makes it illegal to join a secret organization for the purpose of disturbing the peace, and they authorize Brownlow to send in the state militia to any county where 10 people, you need 10 people to say the law is not being enforced, and then you can send in the state militia.
And those people could be black.
Yes, exactly. So this is now the great nightmare for the white people of Middle Tennessee. What Alan Toulouse calls the ultimate horror, that their towns are going to be patrolled by black men with guns who are going to get revenge for all the years of slavery. And actually, the funny thing is, they blinked. It's their white supremacist ex-Confederates who crack, because Nathan Bedford Forrest and George Gordon leave all their mates to go to Nashville and to see the governor, and they say, fine, we'll call off the dogs, there'll be no more violence. And they make a public promise that they will help the authorities maintain the peace and order of the state. In future, we should obey the laws and uphold the stores of property. And actually, at first, it seems to work. And the other states all this time plan support to be building. So the plan is now heading towards having dens in perhaps a quarter of all counties in the former Confederate South, and probably about 150,000 members. Don't forget, in the summer of 1868. And now the stakes are very high. A reminder, the future of the Republic for the past year has been in the hands of the radical Republicans in Congress, and the whole Confederacy, with the exception of Tennessee, has been under military occupation. But on the 3rd of November 1868, the American people will have a chance to turn back the clock. This will be the first
Holly text you?
election since
What'd she say?
Civil War. So the Republicans,
She said they're doing an Easter egg hunt and it's 5:30. Okay.
Yeah, he's the
obviously,
ultimate
yes.
Tell her whenever they
I
finish
know,
is
I know.
fine.
on an explicit platform of equal and civil political rights for all. But the Democrats
Easter egg hunt this late. That's ridiculous. It did just warm up, probably.
An
So
outspoken critic of radical Reconstruction, and his campaign slogan is, and I quote, "This is a white man's country, let white men rule."
Chilling stuff, Dominic. And what is to come is going to be even more chilling. Members of the Rest is History Club can hear that right away, of course. The battle for the future of the South and the fate of the first incarnation of the Ku Klux Klan. And what you can also hear if you are a member of the Rest History Club, the next 2 episodes after those 2, so episode 4 is episode. Join them if you're not a member. You know what you've got to do. restlesshistory.com and sign up there. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Optional paid service like ours.
Not Holly asking to be an hour or more late with my son. At the last minute.
Literally.
It's just, obviously, he's really enjoying it.
Yeah, they're like, how would he feel if we stopped right now? Oh, terrible?
Yeah,
Well-
he's gonna scream.
Maybe we should text mom and dad.
Yeah, just see, just to see, just to check,
They're usually pretty reasonable.
They do care about their son's happiness. This is just, it makes me feel good that they're having a great time. But they always do.
Yeah.
But also they can't spell.
One of these days we might actually do an overnight or something like that.
Yeah. If he keeps doing this and they keep like integrating our son with their family, eventually one of them is going to want to do a sleepover.
100%.
And then that might turn into regular sleepovers, etc.
Totally.
In the late 1860s, New York and so to remind people, this is episode 2 of the series. We're in the era of Reconstruction. Much of the South.
Because their extended family is really close.
Yes.
Like, they're a tight-knit extended family.
And they all live close by.
Yeah. And they always have, like, their whole life and stuff.
Uh-huh.
For Christ's sake, Holly went to Holy Cross, Deidra.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
She's the Covington Lorax, and she speaks for the Holy Cross.
And at its peak, it has dens.
Yes.
I mean, we have insurance salesmen.
Oh my God. Your son.
We read about insurance salesmen.
What about it?
I don't need insurance. Anyway, at its peak, the Clan
He's throwing.
Yes. And then he'd be looking at me, Mommy, we're ball. Bro.
He will literally chuck it behind him in the air and then not see where it goes and then turn around like, whoa.
Mommy, find ball. I wasn't looking either, bro.
She believes.
You're supposed to watch me at all times. You're supposed to always do what I do with me.
So we are just weeks
Okay, Beorn.
from the first presidential.
I will remember that.
And this is an election. Stakes are really, really high. This is not an ordinary political contest. This is one of existential implications.
Have to figure out what we're doing with that pork tonight.
Yeah.
I don't want to do dumplings because that takes for fucking ever. And it's already 5 o'clock.
The turn now of the Grant wasn't actually that corrupt. He was a bit corrupt. And now someone who cares people on the Reddit, they're not responding to you. No, we're not. They're responding. 10 years of historical scholarship equals 1 year of research. So that's how it works. So Grant is very popular with business links in New York City. Who want to get on with it. It's very close to that. Hence some corruption allegations later on. But Grant also supports the corruption. honesty to the Confederates. Come on, the war's over now, let's all be friends. Let's restore the southern states to the Union as quickly as possible. Make sure that we again.
Let's go.
Frank Blair from Missouri. I know you generally love it.
But Dominic, this Frank Blair, he is the worst, as people will see when you read out what he actually said.
Yeah, very shocking. He said the radicals want to hand power to a semi-barbaric race of blacks who are, he said, going to subject white women to their unbridled lust.
And that is such a common theme, isn't it? I mean, you're obsessed by that.
Completely. The theory of miscegenation, yes.
Black men deflowering white women and all of that.
Totally. And this is the last time, really, in a US presidential election, that white supremacy is so overtly explicit. United by their opposition to the Republican Party and to voting rights, and by their commitment to use violence to get their way. So if you look at a couple of examples, we start with Tennessee, where the Klan was founded. So in Tennessee, that election, there is extensive violence in Pulaski and the surrounding countryside. Black men were threatened with death if they voted Republican. They were offered construction papers. They were offered sort of indemnities if they voted Democrats.
So there's not a secret ballot. You can see how you're voting.
No, there's no uniform arrangement, so different states can make their own different provisions. And of course, if you're voting in a small town, everybody basically knows how you vote. There'll be clustering around you.
They can watch you as you do it.
Exactly, people can watch you. There'll be a huge mob of people. Rather like in, we did a series about elections in the 18th and 19th century Britain. Yeah. This is similar. There'll be huge crowds of people at the polls, and there'll be people basically peering over their shoulders to vote. So, of the 2,000 people registered to vote in Alaska, only about 600 to 700 turned up. Some of them actually voted Democratic because they wanted these protection votes. They were intimidated into voting Democratic. And as a result, the Democrats took that county by 50 votes. And it's a similar story in a lot of the other counties of Middle Tennessee. So the Republican vote is sworn in voting, the Republican vote in this area, 3,000 down to it should have been. Now this wasn't enough to win the state for the Democrats, because the Confederates, like I said last time, were disenfranchised by the government. So ex-Confederates couldn't vote. But it is a sign of how effective violence can be in elections. Take another example, the neighboring state of South Carolina. In South Carolina, Democratic clubs handed out guns to their supporters. They would go out riding at night, firing randomly at both people's cabins. Prominent Republican activists would find coffins marked with the three letters KKK on their doorsteps. In the worst hit county, which is Abbeville County, 2 Republican legislators were murdered in the days before the election. So one of them was a white man called James Martin. The other was a state senator of mixed race called B.F. Randolph, who had been a chaplain to a U.S. Army regiment, a black regiment, in the Civil War. And B.F. Randolph was shot in broad daylight on a railway platform with loads of people standing around by 3 men who then rode up and challenged and were never caught and never convicted. In Georgia, the Freedmen's Bureau reported 142 incidents between August and late October, 31 killings, 43 shootings, 5 stabbings, 55 beatings, and 8 whippings, 300 to 500 lashes apiece. The worst of these attacks was an attack on, again, open air, public, everybody can see. It's on a black Republican rally in the town of Camilla in South Georgia on the 19th of September. The local sheriff led the attack. 400 Klansmen opened fire on this parade of Republican supporters, and they chased people into the countryside. They killed quite a few of them, actually. I mean, in some cases, they killed 7 people, they injured 4 more. And on election day, you asked me, Tom, do you think after secret ballots? The answer is no. Basically, armed white Klansmen were told to confiscate the Republican paper, the Republican ballots, and people were trying to cast them. And as a result, to give you an example of 2 counties, in Warren County, the Republican vote fell from 1,288. In Columbia County, it fell from 1,222 to 1 vote. And unbelievably, in 11 Georgia counties with black majorities. So this is where the Republican vote will be really strong. Ulysses S. Grant got no votes at all. In other words, either nobody voted, if they were 70 voted, or basically people who were counting the votes just said he got 0, and none of those votes counted at all. And as a result, Georgia went Democratic in the presidential election.
And there is no attempt to kind of legislate against these results and to say, well, they're obviously corrupt or result of intimidation.
No, to cut a long story short, we'll get on to the legislation. So later on, there is legislation to try to deal with the Klan with Enforcement Act or the People's Klan Act, but they come a little bit later. So at the time, Grant wins the election. So because he's won the election, there's no need. And just the worst violence, actually, what's the worst violence? The worst violence was in Louisiana. So in Louisiana, there were 2 different paramilitary groups doing the Democratic Party's work. There's the Ku Klux Klan, and I mentioned them last time, the Knights of the White Communion.
I can't take them seriously.
I mean, you definitely take them seriously if you live in Louisiana. So they're very strong in the southern parishes of Louisiana. Louisiana has parishes rather than counties, as it's French heritage. And in the southern parishes, more than half of the white male population belongs to the Knights. And they are absolutely ruthless. So in St. Andrew Parish, just 1 parish, the Knights of the White Community killed at least 200 black people in weeks and days before the election.
And there is no legal government response to this at all.
Interesting what tells in the source. Do that.
Grow your skills. Shape your career. Join today. Join Google Cloud Wireless and get the new Pixel 10a on us. Plus, save $10 per month on your service. With an incredible camera, helpful AI, and a design that's built to last. It's more than you'd expect for less. Get the real deal with Google Pixel 10a.
Here was the issue with this whole story. I mean, the United States is a federal system. Separation of powers, but also the sort of division of responsibility between the federal government and the states.
Yeah, so states' rights. The states don't have the right to go around killing people.
So in somewhere like Louisiana, if the state authorities are in the hands, of people who want to behave in this way, right? What does the federal government do? The only thing it can do is to send in troops, right? Because it's got to enforce its will somehow. And the problem with running through this whole story of Reconstruction is that in the war, people think, we've won the war, can we just go home now, please, and crack on making loads of money? Because actually, the United States is poised to go through this tremendous transformation, into this sort of industrial capitalist colossus. And they're very excited at the thought of this, making money from railroads and stuff. And they're bored. They're really bored of the arguments about the South, which have been going on for so long. But also, they think they really believe in their federal system. You and I might not believe in it because we're not Americans, but they do believe in it, and they think ultimately the state should decide.
Even if 200 innocent people have been killed.
Well, they're shocked by this, which is why they end up passing legislation. But ultimately, there is not that much. There's not that much support for federal intervention. Lots of people are really unhappy about it, including, here's the thing, amazing people, including some people who have been really fervent coalitions, allies of Abraham Lincoln. They basically end up saying, look, we've done our best for the freedmen of the South, we've given them emancipation, we've ended slavery, and now they just have to make the best of things. Right, and you know, it is tough for them, but they just have to make the best of it because it's more important to preserve our political system than it is basically to maintain their rights. I mean, there are lots of people who think that, and there'll be some listeners who are already ahead of me, I guess. What lies partly behind this is that a lot of people in the North, even if they are anti-slavery, are still quite racist. That deep down they actually don't want to elect their system, change their system for the benefit of millions of black people in the South. I think that's part of it as well. Okay, yeah, understood. It's a huge, complicated story. I mean, I remember I did this in university, and I can remember in our tutorial saying to our tutor, why don't they just send in the army? You know, that's what a normal country does. And, you know, him saying, well, you have to take seriously the Constitution, the principle of states of the rights of the states, you know, the principle of limited government, all those kinds of things. If you don't take those things seriously, then you don't understand why Americans behaved as they did in the 1860s, 1870s. So, anyway, let's get back to the result. Grant won the election. He won 26 states to Seymour's 8, and he took the Electoral College easily and became the next president. However, there were three important takeaways from all this. Number one, everybody was shocked how close the popular vote was. So Grant won 3 million votes, but Seymour won 2.7 million. And so it wouldn't take that much for the Democrats to win in future, that much of a change. Secondly, historians think that Seymour probably won the majority of white votes among those white people who voted. In other words, if the Democrats can stop black people voting or drive down the black vote, they will probably win. And thirdly, what this proves, some of these figures, so in Louisiana, I mentioned, in 6 parishes in Louisiana, Ulysses S. Grant got 1 vote, and in 7 parishes, he got 0 votes, and he ended up losing Louisiana. What that proves is that paramilitary violence works. There are not enough federal troops in the South to stop it, and the number of federal troops is bound to shrink as the Northerners get bored and want to withdraw troops and bring them home. So, what happens after the election? Grant was inaugurated before the parties in September, and he gives his inaugural address. There's lots of black supporters there actually. And Grant, he says prejudice and hate. He wants to see the 15th Amendment ratified. The 15th Amendment would forbid any state denying you the right to vote. Previous condition of servitude. In other words, basically give ex-male slaves the right to vote. But since the election, the Klan's violence is not the
You want to go outside and wait for Beorn?
Hell yeah.
Parson Brown, the governor,
But I want a sip of beer.
infiltrate the Klan. This detective
Want to know what I'm planning on making tonight?
when a gang of masked men dragged him and took him into the woods.
Oh no! You're gonna make your cutest possible stance and act very cutely and sound very cute, and I'm gonna have no interest in what you're doing. You see?
Oh yeah.
That's the answer. You see?
And some white business leaders started to get anxious about this and say that things getting out of hand. And what was particularly worrying was that the Republicans in Nashville were now saying to Brownlow, "Are you finally going to send in this armed state militia or not?" Which he's been talking about for months. And on the 20th of January, Brownlow finally agreed to do it. So this is 9 days after his detective has been killed. He announces publicly, he says, "There's a reign of terror in Middle and West Tennessee. I want to..."
We're going to do homemade flatbreads and
declare martial law,
sausage and
occupy
tomato
territories,
filling
all of this kind of
with
stuff.
a
And at this
tomato and
point,
cucumber
Tennessee
salad on
Klan
the side.
Disgusting. Oh no, God.
Alex claims it's only supposed to take half an hour.
Hey.
I'm gonna need you to hold my son for like an hour.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Indeed.
In the next few weeks, the Tennessee Klan, the original one, actually disbands. So
Cheap Lee, because you're so beautiful. Oh no, doggy.
Oh, shush.
The Tennessee Klan leadership basically renounces the Klan, and that's the end of it.
It's really good for us to get a few hours off every week, Deidra.
Yes, I know. As a couple.
Like, this exact 8-hour schedule on Sunday might need to be a regular thing.
I know.
Yep.
I hate it, but
It just is how it is, though.
The amount of unwinding we've done in this tiny little span of time is
I
not
know.
even funny.
It's very good for Beorn for us to unwind.
Super good. Yeah, for
us to miss him.
It's good for him to be with people that he loves that aren't us.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for him to miss us a little bit and be okay and learn to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great for us to miss him and unwind.
Mm-hmm.
Best Clinton manner is triangulating. He is triangulating. He's triangulating in a way that's very disadvantageous to black voting. And basically, this is the story of the South in the next few years. This is what they're going to do.
Just think how happy you're going to be to see him in a few minutes.
I know.
And we dropped him off this morning.
I know. But I miss my baby. Where's my baby?
I know. I know.
And so that September, a local newspaper in Tennessee prints what it
I
claims.
wonder how he would do these days with going to sleep in that crib over there.
I don't think we had a grand
You know what I mean?
No, I don't think we did.
Not as bad as the first time he got used to it.
But not as good as when he was regularly doing it, I would
And
guess.
the Grand Tycoon says
He's definitely got to be like, where the fuck is my mommy, daddy?
Yeah, mommy specifically.
Mhm. Boob.
Yeah.
Boob.
Yeah. It's not even you that he wants. It's just your boobs most of the time.
Like, who in here doesn't know that that's what's supposed to be happening right now? Because this is a problem.
Yeah, that's my son. The more he gets what he likes at night, the more he gets offended when he doesn't get it.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That the occupying U.S. Army hands over power to elected radical.
But he's just gonna have to get used to that because Daddy puts him to bed.
Only at this point.
Uh-huh. Last night was a special occasion. It's not a normal thing.
Uh-huh.
At least not the way we did it.
Well, last night, even last night, I was the one who initially put him down, I thought.
No, last night he fell asleep with me. On the couch.
Oh, last night was weird as hell.
Yes.
That's not normal in any way.
Hi, Q.
Yes, Jess.
Many of whom had been slaves.
Can you do me a
right
favor,
up to
beautiful,
1863,
and hand me that over there?
They had lived in plantation counties.
Gorgeous. Thank you, my love.
So we are saying disgusting things.
You only gotta be disgustingly gorgeous then.
And now they're making the laws. So South Carolina sends 8 black men to Congress. Its state legislature in South Carolina had a black majority. Louisiana has a black governor, the first in American history. Remember the excellent name of PBS Pinchback. And Mississippi has the first black United States senator. Hiram Rhodes Revels.
Hiram Rhodes.
And these
Revels.
people, if you've ever, well, we'll be talking about the film The Birth of a Nation next week. If you watch that film, or if you read the book about,
they're down to the wire on 5:30.
Oh my God! Yeah.
These people are
Heard it.
as incompetent, stupid,
About 10.
corrupt.
Not 10.
About 10. We're on our way. We promise. I swear to God. We didn't kidnap your kid.
Give or take 10. Yeah, because I will call the cops. Trust and believe.
Uh-huh.
Niggas are watching the clock.
The best possible job they could in horrific.
You got 5 minutes to be past the time you're supposed to be here before I start calling your ass.
Yeah.
Is the fact that for white Southerners to have PBS Pinchback governing your state.
And if you don't answer my call within an hour, max, I'm calling the police.
is an
I'll be like,
unbelievable.
did you get in a car crash?
If you've been raised before the war,
You better call me if physically possible.
Right,
If
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I'm on my
you don't
fucking
even
way.
think that a black man is
The
doing
fuck?
anything. And you basically, I mean, to give you an example, this
Is
jumped
my
out
son
at us.
injured?
It was one of the books. It was Alan Trelease. The white Southerners have been raised in the world where if you walk down the street and a black man bowed to you,
This is why people
That's a
hate
good one.
leaving their children in the care of other people.
even though he'd shown
Intrusive
his
thoughts
face,
just go crazy.
you were with him because
Yeah, but we know he's safe.
Yes, I know he's fine. They're not gonna threaten their safety to get him back here by 5:30. Like, we're not putting that kind of pressure on
I
them.
mean, that worldview was
Get back
so
here when you can.
entrenched. I mean, that is the thing that's perhaps hardest for people
In a reasonable way.
outside that part of the world to get their heads around. How deeply entrenched it is,
Yeah, I mean,
how
when she
deeply
asked if
embedded
5:30 was
that
okay,
worldview.
her second extension, I was just like, whenever, any time is fine.
Yes, just keep us posted.
Mississippi,
Uh-huh.
Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas in the next 5 years. When we're talking about the death toll, definitely in the hundreds, maybe 500, 600, 700 people, if possible to say, the sort of death toll that might be comparable to the Troubles in Northern Ireland in the first part of the 1950s, reference for our British listeners. And in the Troubles in Northern Ireland, people would often say of this violence, well, it's just mindless thuggery. Which,
I guarantee
you know,
you
it's
he
easy
had
to
a
say about
fucking
people's
blast.
time, but it's absolutely not
loves
mindless thuggery at all. It's very, very calculated. The brilliant
big
historian of
family
Reconstruction, one of the greatest
loves
American historians, Eric Foner, writes about this in his big book on Reconstruction. He says, quote, in effect,
Even if it's not his biological family, as long as there's people there that he trusts.
Class, and all those who desire the restoration of white supremacy. Its purposes were political in the broadest sense, to destroy the Republican Party's infrastructure, undermine the Reconstruction state, re-establish control of the black labor force, and restore racial subordination in every aspect of Southern life.
So, Dominic, to pursue the Northern Ireland comparison, the Ku Klux Klan are the Democrats, what the IRA are to Sinn Féin.
Yeah, I think that's not an unreasonable comparison. I think you could say they are the kind of armed wing of a political movement. Yeah. Because they've been supported by Democratic newspapers, they are very closely linked to Democratic politicians. You know, their aim is to destroy the Republican Party. So yeah,
Ready?
absolutely. I mean, it's quite one Florida politician, a guy called Emmanuel Fortune, who was driven out of Jackson County, Florida by the Klan. He said the object of it is to kill the leading men of the Republican Party, men who've taken a prominent stand. So the main terrible stories.
It's almost like it's only even overwhelming to be a parent if you only have two people doing all the parenting.
There's a guy called Abraham Colbert,
Which is exactly not
He
how
was
it's
the
supposed to
son
be.
of an
Right.
Irish plantation owner. And
'Cause
It takes a village.
Yeah,
The
because
reason they
just
say
with
that.
this little tiny little 8 to 10 hours in one after like
And there's
weeks
a
of doing it on our own, just
Uh-huh.
a tiny little break makes us feel so much better.
Mhm.
In 1860,
I'm just glad you understand as much as I understood how much a break was necessary.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
But it's impossible to understand that until you take over having to do it full time for an extended period of time,
Or
which you
even-
weren't even capable of doing when he was separated because he needed you so much.
Dragged from his bed by a mob of 60 Klansmen. And they took him out into the woods. with his mother,
just
his wife,
facing
his
the
daughter,
prospect
and
of doing it all yourself.
And they stripped
Y-
him naked
Yes.
in front of his family,
Yes.
And then they whipped him for 3 hours.
That shit is insane.
And we know this because he
buries you,
testified
yeah.
to the Congressional Committee.
Yeah.
There's like no room to be you. You are only parent. And that's not who only all you are. You suffer the longer you have to go only being the responsible person. People need some time where they don't have
that is not even responsible because it's irresponsible to not do self-care.
Right. And part of self-care is having some period of time
And while they're doing this, they're holding a
where
gun to his little daughter's head.
you don't have responsibilities,
And they call
like other than just taking care of
Yes.
yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
Like no one's expecting me to get up.
It needs to even be time free from taking care of yourself. It needs to be time of pure enjoyment.
Yes, but that is technically taking care of yourself.
But that it has to be that aspect of it.
Right. Like your
You
only
will die without that.
yeah, your only responsibility at this time is to relax. It doesn't matter what you have to do to make that happen. You need to relax.
Right.
And that means no alarms, no
no unwanted interruptions.
Everyone needs some time like that.
Yep. You're not going to have to get up and do anything that you don't want to do or that just isn't the thing that you're already doing.
I think so.
No wonder birth rates are falling. If you destroy the infrastructure that makes parenting not suck.
Obviously, no one's going to want to do it.
What the fuck?
This world needs radical change.
I know.
Radical change.
Yeah.
These mics, we can't get them out.
Stay connected anyway.
Should take the trash out. You grab that last box in that trash bag.
It seems like a little thing, but it's really not. She brought him back for us.
me.
What did you say?
They call me.
No idea.
Nope. That one's beyond me.
They call me.
Here it is. A completely different shirt than what you were wearing earlier, but okay.
Because they call me.
I'm sure he got it dirty.
Because they call me.
What'd you say, Shiny Bear?
Because they call me.
Mommy doesn't understand.
They call
Oh
me.
my goodness.
Butter say color many? Butter?
No boy.
No butter?
They call me.
Bus say color many? Do you want this?
Oh, yeah.
This, Fiona? This what you're asking for? This right here?
This one here. Wow.
Your coloring book?
Is that? Did they give him that?
It was in his bag.
Suge? In his bag. Suge?
Yeah.
They're just all trying to be part of our family or whatever.
What? He must have had some crayons when he was coloring it. Ooh, you want to break that out? He's trying to do this right now.
Yeah, but
We could do that later. He's gonna get sick of this not that long from now.
Probably.
Okay.
Good to have something up your sleeve, I guess.
Crayons. All right, ready to take
no.
off your shoes?
Oh no, crayons. It's
Well,
just
oh
gonna,
well.
It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a proper containment system, so it's gonna happen.
Well, let's get him one, shall we? Here.
Isn't that chocolate?
Yes, it is.
Good God.
That'll be the only piece.
So the only one I saw.
Okay.
Beorn, did you color the letters yellow? Did you color all the letters yellow? Good job, Beorn. Oh, great job, Beorn. Oh my goodness, Beorn. I'm so happy to see you again.
Back to normal.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's normal again. It's an intense feeling.
You put shapes of yellow.
He's coloring the shapes yellow, you see.
Oh my goodness.
You put shapes of yellow. All right, there's shapes.
Oh. Okay. Great. Now I have to find homes for all of this crap.
What is that, bubble solution?
Yep. And a bubble wand.
Wow.
Godiva milk chocolate bunnies.
Your son has dumped his container.
Beorn, the crayons stay in the bowl.
Can you put your crayons back in the bowl, Beorn? Put all the crayons back in the bowl gently. Can you put them in gently?
Good job.
Good job doing it gently, Beorn.
Yeah, you put your crayons in the bowl. We don't dump it out. We don't dump it out.
No, we don't dump it out.
We don't dump it out, Beorny.
No dumping. Can you say no dumping?
That's right. Great job.
Can you pick up the one that fell on the floor, Beorn? Good job, Beorn.
Gentle, Beorny. No dumping. They stay in the bowl. Good job.
Welcome home, Beorn. See, it's good to have a village, Deidra.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Can you take off his shoes?
2 seconds home, and it's already looking forward to next Sunday. Yep. Yeah. Interesting times. Interesting times. You know, one day it wouldn't be like that, you know, because he would be, once he's like 3 or 4, at some point in his development, he's going to just like pretty much, and it's like, it's definitely by the time he learns how to read books to himself, there's going to be just long periods of time where he's fully entertaining himself.
Yeah, Alex says by 5 they know how to entertain themselves for long stretches.
Yeah. And he already entertains himself now, just not for anything like a long stretch.
No. He can go like half an hour max, and then...
Max. Yeah. And then it's time to hunt down mommy's boobs.
Or like have like incessant parent involvement with whatever it is he's doing.
Like, we're gonna make a comment about everything we see and think, like every single second.
And we want
every single comment to be responded to by mommy.
And we want mommy to press the BUTTON. You see,
yes,
and like literally just taking mommy's hand and just.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all.
We want mommy to be at our complete and utter disposal, and for no other purpose. Beorn, remember when mommy and daddy said no dumping? Do you remember, Beorn? Yeah. Good Beorn. A good Beorn. A good Beorn.
Make sure his bowl.
Oh, you don't need to tell me.
Okay.
Beorn, can you put the rest of your crayons in your bowl?
Disgusting. Okay.
It's the last one. Okay, now don't dump it again, okay? No dumping, right? Beorn, say no dumping? Yes.
They actually...
Good job, Beorn. Well, that is quite loud.
frightened her to death. She never got over it until she died. She died of shock. That was the part that grieves me the most. Then the committee said to him, "How long before you recover from the effects of this treatment?" Answer: "I have never got over it yet. They broke something inside of me. I cannot do any work now, although I always made my living before." A really sad story, isn't it? Happy ending to this. There are larger scale attacks. There are attacks on Republican rallies. For example, at a place called Utah, Alabama, in 1874 people were killed. In same month, in Lawrence County, South Carolina, the Klan drove 150 people out of their homes. They murdered 13 people, including a white judge and a black legislator. And then an incredible story, 6 months later in Reading, Mississippi, 3 people were arrested by the white judge for making incendiary speeches. But their court hearings invaded that county. They killed the judge at the court hearing and 2 of the defendants, and then ran them off from the town, killed about 30 people, including, and I quote, "all of the leading coloured men of the town." So, you know, you would ask, how is it they're able to do this and get away with it? I mean, basically, because if they stand against them, they will kill them, and there are not enough federal troops to make a difference, and there's not enough will in Washington or in the world to intervene on such a scale. It would have to be a massive scale. It would have to flood every southern country with troops in order to stop this.
And I suppose that every act of violence is a testing of the boundaries, a kind of stress testing of how able the federal government is to respond to violence like this. And so presumably, the more they realise they can get away with, the more the violence escalates.
Right, well, you just keep doing it because it works. I mean, it works. So here's the other thing that you were asking about before. So Eric Foner used the phrase, and that bit I quoted from Eric Foner, to say political on the broad.
Can you put them back in, Beorn?
And you asked about political read and write.
Gently. Can you put it down and put them back in? No. All done, Krantz?
White teachers, black teachers, they will feed
All done, Krantz?
people who rent rooms.
What?
An example of an Irish teacher called William Lynch, who was working in a black school in Cross Plains, Alabama.
What did you say, Beorn? No, Beorn, we do not color on the table.
Right, who have their own land, who have their own livestock. People who
Yeah,
don't
only on the
their
paper, that's right.
passers-by, people who don't give up sidewalk pavement, people who speak disrespectfully. They will even attack, quote, women who dress up and fix up like they thought anything of themselves. Some of those black women who have a little bit about them.
So basically, it's about keeping them in heritage.
Yes, indeed it is. So it's an awful picture, a terrible picture, and yet we've actually got to the worst of it. Because there is one county where the Klan is on a parallel path, where its word is law, we cannot challenge it. It's quite an unchallenged the story of the first Klan. In this county, in every subject of crime, the juggernaut propelled forward by the size and character of its membership and the terror it inspired in every person in the county, including its own members. And this place was York County, South Carolina, and we will find out what happened there and how the Grant administration was finally roused to fight back against and destroy the Klan after the break.
I didn't let fixable because heart valve failure isn't how I go out.
Get one of these Jimmy Johnson kids in a drink for $8.99. Oh, that's good.
Setup can be as easy as, well, doing nothing.
I just got my laptop for my degree as maestro. I'm so excited.
But what's really amazing? How intuitive learning this is. I have an AI tutor that actually knows where I'm at. If I'm confident on a topic, it moves me forward. If I'm struggling, it adjusts to difficulty. There are practice sessions after every lesson. I'm not just memorizing.
OutSchool offers thousands of interactive online courses, connecting hundreds of teachers with pre-kindergarten to high school.
Hello, and welcome back to Alice's History. We are now in the state of South Carolina, and South Carolina, of course, has played a key role in the Civil War. It had been the first southern state to secede from the Union back in December 1860, and it begins the first shots of the Civil War that had been fired in April 1861. So, Dominic, what is the complex in South Carolina? What is the kind of the racial balance, all of that kind of thing?
The population is about 60% white, 40% white. Now, within those racial demographics, we're not surprised to know that in 1868 was a racial republic who voted for Ulysses S. Grant. And in 1870,
Oh no, did you drop your crayons? Oh no. No, we do not throw our crayons on the floor, Beorn. Can you pick up your crayons? And can you put them back in your bucket, please? Come here, Beorn. I need to wipe your nose. Beorn, I need to wipe your nose. Come here.
the state legislature I mentioned in the first half.
Good job, Beorn. Come here, one more time. Okay, good job. All right, pick up your crayons and put them back in the bucket, please.
Oh, hi, Beorn.
And they were furious.
No, mommy has to make dinner.
Couch with daddy.
Hang on. Hugs. Hugs for mommy.
Kiss for mommy. No boob. Kiss for mommy.
Boob after dinner. Boob after dinner, my love. Hugs for mommy. Boob after dinner. Because you know I love you. No.
I told you, dude.
Really? You didn't know that? Is that right, Beorn?
Yeah.
Well, I love you. I love you so much.
Mommy and
Beorn.
daddy love, 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 love Beorn. Beorn, did you know that mommy and daddy love you? Did you know mommy and daddy love you?
Beorn, did you know I love you?
No.
He's the little he's a little prankster.
I love you so much. So much. I do. I do.
You're not allowed to do that.
He's trying to put it back.
Okay, but he doesn't know how.
Yes. Daddy will put it back.
Beorn, don't touch the mic. No touching the mic. I'm going to take you away from mommy if you touch the mic.
Yes. The mic stays on mommy's shirt.
Don't touch the mic. No touching the mic for Beorn. Beorn does not touch the mic.
I love you. But we don't touch the mic. No, we don't touch the mic. No, we don't touch the mic.
Even mommy and daddy don't touch the mic.
We don't touch the mic. Mommy doesn't touch the mic. Daddy doesn't touch the mic. And Beorn doesn't touch the mic.
All the family does not touch the mic.
All the family doesn't touch the mic.
5 black schools.
Should I go outside?
Yeah, Daddy will take you outside. Yes, he will. Backyard. Yes.
You want to go out? Let me go outside.
Mommy will cook dinner, and Daddy and Beorn will go outside.
Wait, go outside, Beorn?
Want to take your ball outside?
Outside with Daddy, Beorn? Outside with Daddy and
And
Beorn?
ball.
Okay, outside with Daddy and ball.
Okay, your ball's in the wagon. Go get your ball.
This kid can be so bribed with outside. It's nothing.
Oof.
The teacher said Sophie was talking about codes.
Codes.
Mommy's right here.
You know what the most underrated thing about basketball is? The assists. Nola
Yes, outside with
But
daddy.
don't you need some shoes, Beorny?
You talked about stress testing, how far you can go through testing your
Beorn, you need to put your shoes on.
And this must
Yes, shoes on.
have those boundaries to be extreme. I mean,
Yes. I want
This guy
to
needs
wear my
sleep.
shoes.
And he was clearly overstimulated wherever he went today. Also.
He was with a bunch of little kids probably on a freaking Easter egg hunt. No wonder he's excited as heck.
Uh-huh. He's glad to be home where he controls everything.
Oh yeah. Yep. I'm sure he pretty much runs Holly's ass too, though. So.
I know, but there's only so far that can go when they're like out doing things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And Beorn like really contains how much he tries to control everything, but he still really wants to. So then it comes out a lot when he's at home.
Yeah, it builds up.
Yeah.
He loves that he has full control over at least you. And something like full control over me. He can get me to do almost anything.
Yes, take him outside, please. Don't take your mic.
Beorn goes outside with daddy. Beorn puts on Beorn's shoes. It's time for shoes. We have to have shoes to go outside. Yes, shoes. Yes. I want to wear my shoes. Good. The shoes are good for you. Oh, we love it. Wow. Come on, follow me. Yes, ball is for Beorn. Come here, Beorn. Shoes. You have to have shoes to go outside. Come get your ball. Did I shamelessly trick you into coming over to the chair so that I could put your shoes on your feet and use your ball as a lure? Yes, I did.
He was the nephew, I think, not coincidentally, of the man who had once owned the slave treated as property. This property, Dr. Bratton assembled a gang of 60 men wearing masks. They broke into Williams's cabin and they found him hiding in the floorboards. They dragged him
Outside with daddy.
Mommy.
Outside.
I say mommy.
Outside.
I say mommy.
Outside with daddy.
I say mommy.
Outside with daddy.
I say mommy, mom. Outside with daddy,
Mommy will come outside later.
Yes. I want to wear my shoe. Good. Wearing your shoe is good for you. Oh. I love it too.
I want it too. I want it too. I want it too.
Oh, great job, Beorn.
I want it.
Because you're my hunky little chunky from a hunky McMunky. Oh no, Gandhi, oh no. Beorn, don't you want your ball, Beorn? Okay. It did eventually warm up, didn't it, huh?
Yeah, but do you want to take a jacket or a hoodie?
No, we'll come in when it gets too cold.
Okay.
To use the terminology of the time, a race war. And the race war, the white people are better armed, they're richer, they're more powerful. Even if there are fewer of them, experience shows that they will always go further, behave more badly. This will invite disaster for the black people of York County. So, What Scott does is he writes to Washington.
Come on, Beorny. Let's go outside. Outside with Daddy. Outside with Daddy.
I say mommy, daddy.
Mm-hmm. Mommy will come outside later. Outside with Daddy, and then outside with Mommy and Daddy later.
7th Cavalry. Great to have them back on the show. Well, finally, people have been saying, when are you going to do Custer Season 2? Yeah. This is it. It's the prequel. It's the prequel to The Phantom Menace. Exactly.
Where's the case?
So, actually, the 7th Cavalry who were sent to
Behind the curtain, I think.
County,
On the windowsill.
by a much less famous person, but a more impressive person. Can you get more impressive than George Armstrong Custer? You can. He's called Major Lewis Merrill.
So I looked him up. I mean, his beard, it has to be said, is not impressive.
No.
If we're leaving, you should play this in your speaker.
I'm planning to.
I'm going to make a comparison with Mike
start it over.
Major Merrill.
Okay, I will rewind. Yes.
Oh no. Here you go, Beorny.
No.
Oh my gosh, you just cried for like a minute straight that you couldn't get it out of your chair, and then they handed it to you, and you said no, and threw it on the ground.
Outside with Daddy.
I
Mommy will come outside later. Mommy will come out. So outside with Daddy right now, and outside with Mommy and Daddy later.
Beorn, wait, go outside with Daddy.
Yeah.
Outside with Daddy and Ball.
Here, look. Follow the ball, Beorn. Come here. I've got your ball. Yeah, I have your ball, so you have to follow me. That's the rule. See you later.
Mm-hmm.
Bluetooth pairing. Bluetooth connected.
Has Kyra texted you back?
I don't want to talk about it.
How's the math test?
Major Merrill came from Pennsylvania. He was of 1868. So we are just weeks, really.
We have come. We are here. Beware. Unholy blacks. Cursed of God. Take warning and fly. Beware. Take heed. K. So that was a chilling warning.
Clan. And I think it is worth pointing out that not only are the Ku Klux Klan very violent, murderous, racist, but also they can't spell. What have they misspelled? Clan.
Oh yes, with the K.
Yeah, it's with a C.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong.
So the lurid message punches us right into the sweltering and very polarized atmosphere of the American South in the late 1860s. in the aftermath of the American Civil War. So this is episode 2 of this series, when the era of Reconstruction, much of the South is under military administration by the United States Army, or being run by administrations that are allied to the radical Republican-dominated U.S. Congress. So last time we decided how the Klan was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee, in the summer of 1866. Initially a kind of social club for Confederate veterans, but it quickly evolved into something much more sinister. It spreads across the South in the next 2 years, heavily promoted by Democratic newspapers, and becomes a vigilante group that traps the white men of all classes, from lawyers and doctors to kind of farmers and laborers. Its figurehead is the former Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest, who's now an insurance salesman, among other things. And at its peak, it has dens in a quarter. I mean, we may have insurance salesmen for this podcast. I don't want to be rude about insurance salesmen. You know, we all need insurance, Tom. Anyway, at its peak, the Klan has a dent in a quarter of southern counties. It's got about 150,000 members, and their targets are the 3 to 4 million newly liberated freed men and freed women of the South.
And they're about a third of the population, and the other 2/3 are white.
So these people are the Klan's targets, as well as their allies in the Republican Party. Now, we ended last time at the late summer, early autumn of 1868. So we are just weeks, really, from the first presidential election since the Civil War. And this is an election which the stakes are really, really high. This is not an ordinary political contest. This is one with existential implications, particularly if you're in the South. So, on the Republican side, you have General Ulysses S. Grant. So he's from Ohio. He is a career military officer. He was seen in the North as the predominant hero, the preeminent hero of the Northern War effort, because what he had done in his sort of dogged and quiet and sort of small c conservative way, he had harnessed the power of industry and a modern army and modern communications and all those kinds of things to wage a campaign that looked, you know, like the military campaigns of the future rather than the past. He's not about swashbuckling cavalry charges. He is about grinding relentlessly forward, and of course, that's what wins the war.
And in the series that we did on the assassination of Lincoln, we inadvertently used that, weren't we? And implied that he may have been very corrupt.
Corrupt and boring, I think. Is what
corrupt and boring.
Yeah.
So he is boring, but he's not particularly corrupt, is he, actually? So we should draw back on that.
The trend now among historians is to say that Grant wasn't actually that corrupt. He was a bit corrupt. But some people corruption was actually systemic. And indeed,
okay, so that's a scholar's test to more than boring either.
Shocking.
We fully take it back then.
This is the way history works. And in our own way, we've reflected the pendulum there. Because a year ago we said he was corrupt and boring, and now.
But since then,
yeah. And then I just want to make it clear to people on the Reddit, we're not responding to you.
No, we're not. We're responding to trends in scholarship. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. 10 years of historical scholarship equals 1 year of professional history. So that's how it works. So Grant was very popular in business elites in New York City. Who to get on with making the money. It's very close to that. Hence some of the corruption allegations later on. But Grant also supports congressional reconstruction, as it is called. So this is the approach that says, let's bring law and order to the South, and let us guarantee equal rights for African Americans. Come on, we didn't start this war for nothing. We want to see proper results. On the Democrat side, they nominate the former governor of New York, Horatio Seymour. And Horatio Seymour is standing on an uncompromising platform of white supremacy. So Horatio Seymour and the Democrats say we'll give amnesty to the Confederates. Come on, the war's over now, let's all be friends. Let's restore the southern states to the Union as quickly as possible. Sure, they've been in rebellion. Let's get them back into Congress. Let's all be friends. And let's stop intervening in the South with the Union Army. The federal government has no business interfering in the South. That's not why we fought the war.
Something designed to teach anyone who's interested in learning technical support fundamentals, computer networking, operating systems, system administration, IT infrastructure services, and IT security.
I got a chance to receive experience from every sector of IT, from networking to troubleshooting.
Why we fought the war? So the tone of Seymour's campaign was set by his vice president, who was a man called Frank Blair from Missouri. I know you generally love a Blair.
But Dominic, this Frank Blair, he is the worst, as people say when you read out what he actually said.
Yeah, very shocking. He said, the radicals want to hand power to a semi-barbaric race of blacks who are, instead, going to subject white women to their unbridled lust.
And that is such a common theme, isn't it? I mean, they're obsessed by that idea of
Completely. The fear of miscegenation, yes.
black men deflowering white women and all of that.
Totally. And this is the last time, really, in a US presidential election that white supremacy is so overtly, explicitly the issue. One Democratic tactician said explicitly, our strategy is to exploit the aversion with which the masses contemplate the equality of the Negro. So this is clearly a very highly charged campaign, and especially in the South, and this is where the Klan comes in. As we said last time, the Klan's not a top-down, cohesive organisation. You know, there isn't a headquarters from which orders go out. This is basically an alliance of loosely linked vigilante groups in the small towns and villages of the rural South, and they are united by their opposition to the Republican Party and to black voting rights, and by their commitment to use violence to get their way. So if we look at a couple of examples, we start with Tennessee, where the Klan was founded. So in Tennessee, that election, there is extensive violence in Pulaski and the surrounding countryside. Black men were threatened with death if they voted Republican. They were offered protection papers. They were offered sort of indemnities if they voted Democrat.
So there's not a secret ballot. People can see how you're voting.
No, there's no uniform arrangements, so different states can make their own different provisions. And of course, if you're voting in a small town, everybody will basically know the way you vote. There'll be clustering around you.
They can watch you as you do it.
Exactly, people will watch it. There'll be a huge mob of people around. Rather like in, we did a series about elections in 18th and 19th century Britain. Yeah. This is not dissimilar. There'll be huge crowds at the polls, and there'll be people basically peering over your shoulder to vote. So, of the 2,000 African Americans who have registered to vote in Pulaski, only about 600 to 700 of them turned up. Some of them actually voted Democratic because they wanted these protection papers. They were intimidated to vote Democratic. And as a result, the Democrats took that county by 50 votes. And it was a similar story in a lot of the other counties of Middle Tennessee. So the Republican vote, historians reckon the Republican vote in this area was 10,000 votes down on what it should have been. Now, this wasn't enough to win the state for the Democrats, because the Confederates, as we said last time, had been disenfranchised by the governor, Parson Brownlow. So ex-Confederates couldn't vote. But it is a sign of how effective violence can be in elections. Take another example, neighbouring state of South Carolina. In South Carolina, Democratic clubs handed out guns to their supporters, and they would go out riding at night, firing randomly at black people's cabins. Prominent Republican activists would find coffins marked with the three letters KKK on their doorsteps. In the worst hit county, which was Abbeville County, 2 Republican legislators were murdered in the days before the election. So one of them was a white man called James Martin. The other was a state senator of mixed race called B.F. Randolph, who had been a chaplain to a U.S. Army regiment, a black regiment, in the Civil War. And B.F. Randolph was shot in broad daylight on a railway platform with loads of people standing around by 3 men who then rode off unchallenged and were never caught and never convicted. In Georgia, the Freedmen's Bureau reported 142 incidents between August and late October, 31 killings, 43 shootings, 5 stabbings, 55 beatings, 8 whippings, 300 to 500 lashes apiece. The worst of these attacks was an attack on, again, open air, public, everybody can see. It's on a black Republican rally in the town of Camilla in South Georgia on the 19th of September. The local sheriff led the attack. 400 Klansmen opened fire on this parade of Republican supporters. Surprisingly few of them, actually. I mean, in some ways, they killed 7 people, they injured about 40 more. Then on election day, you're asking Tom, can you pass a secret ballot? The answer here is no. Basically, armed white Klansmen were at the polls. They confiscate the Republican papers, the Republican ballot. Western. Here's the result. To give you another two counties. In Warren County, the Republican vote fell from more than 1,288. In Columbia County, it fell from 1,222 to 1 vote. And unbelievably, in 11 Georgia counties, there were black majorities. So this is where the Republican vote would be really strong. Ulysses S. Grant got no votes at all. In other words, either nobody voted for him because they were so intimidated, or basically the people who were counting the votes just said he got 0, and none of those votes counted at all. And as a result, Georgia went Democratic in the presidential election.
And there is no attempt to kind of legislate against these results and say, well, they're obviously corrupt or result of intimidation.
No, to cut a long story short, we'll get on to the legislation. So later on there is legislation to try to deal with the Klan, with the Enforcement Act, and the Ku Klux Klan Act. But they come in a bit later. So at the time, Klan wins the election. So because he's won the election, there's no need. And just the worst violence, actually, what's the worst violence? The worst violence was in Louisiana. So in Louisiana, there are two different paramilitary groups doing the Democratic Party's work. There's the Ku Klux Klan, and I mentioned it last time, the Knights of the White Camellia.
I can't take them seriously with that.
You definitely take them seriously if you live in Louisiana. So they're very strong in the southern parishes of Louisiana. Louisiana has parishes rather than counties. Of course, it's got its French heritage. And in the southern parishes, more than half of the white male population belongs to the Knights. And they are absolutely ruthless. So in St. Landry Parish, just one parish, the Knights of the White Camellia killed at least 200 black people in the weeks and days before the election.
And there is no legal government response to this at all?
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality right now.
Here's the issue with this whole story. The United States is a federal system. Separation of powers, but also sort of division of responsibilities between the federal government and the state.
Yeah, so states' rights. But the states don't have the right to go around killing.
If the state authorities are in the hands, of people who want to behave in this way, right? What does the federal government do? The only thing it can do is to send in troops, right? Because it's got to enforce its will somehow. And the problem that runs through this whole story of Reconstruction is that in the North, people think, we've won the war, can we just go home now, please, and crack on with making loads of money? Because actually, the United States is poised for this tremendous transformation, into this sort of industrial capitalist colossus. And they're very excited at the thought of this, making money from railroads and stuff. And they're really bored of the arguments about the South, which have been going on for so long. But also they really believe in their federal system. You and I might not believe in it, Tom, because we're not Americans. But they do believe in it, and they think ultimately the state should decide.
Even if 200 innocent people have been killed.
Well, they're shocked by this, which is why they end up passing legislation. But ultimately, there's not that much support for federal intervention. Lots of people are really unhappy about it, including people, amazingly, including some people who have been really fervent abolitionists allies of Abraham Lincoln, they basically end up saying, look, we've done our best for the freedmen of the South, we've given them emancipation, we've ended slavery, and now they just have to make the best of things.
Right.
And you know, it is tough for them, but they just have to make the best of it because it's more important to preserve our political system than it is basically to maintain their rights. And a lot of people think that, and there'll be some listeners who are already ahead of me, I guess. What lies partly behind this is that a lot of people in the North, even if they are anti-slavery, are still quite racist. They're deep down, they want to wreck their system. They wreck their system or change their system for the benefit of millions of black people in the South. I think that's part of this as well.
Okay, yeah, understood.
It's a hugely complicated story. I mean, I remember I did this in university, and I can remember in our tutorial saying to our tutor, why don't they just send in the army? You know, that's what a normal country does. And, you know, he was saying, well, you have to take seriously the Constitution, the principle of the rights of the states, you know, the principle of limited government, all of those kinds of things. If you don't take those things seriously, then you don't understand why Americans behaved as they did in the 1860s and 1870s. So, anyway, let's get back to the results. Grant won the election. He won 26 states to Seymour's 8, and he took the Electoral College easily and became the next president. However, there are three important takeaways from this. Number one, everybody was shocked how close the popular vote was. So Grant won 3 million votes, but Seymour won 2.7 million. And so it wouldn't take that much for the Democrats to win in the future, that much of a change. Secondly, historians think that Seymour probably won a majority of white votes among those white people who voted. In other words, if the Democrats could stop black people voting or drive down the black vote, they will probably win. And thirdly, what this proves, some of these figures, so in Louisiana, I mentioned, in 6 parishes in Louisiana, Ulysses S. Grant got 1 vote. And in 7 parishes, he got 0 votes, and he ended up losing Louisiana. What that proves is that paramilitary violence works. There are not enough federal troops in the South to stop it, and the number of federal troops is bound to shrink as Northerners get bored and want to withdraw the troops and bring them home. So, what happens after the election? Grant was inaugurated on the 4th of March 1869, and he gives his inaugural address, and there's lots of black supporters there actually in Washington to hear it. And Grant, you know, it's quite a, I mean, we said he's not corrupt and boring, it's actually quite a boring speech. He says he rejects prejudice and hate. He wants to see the 15th Amendment ratified, so the 15th Amendment would forbid any state denying you the right to vote based on your colour or your race or previous condition of servitude. In other words, basically give ex-male slaves the right to vote. But since the election, the Klan's violence has not died down. In many ways, it's actually got worse. So, in Tennessee, for example, the night raids have got worse since the election. Here's one example. Parson Brownlow, the governor, hired a detective to infiltrate the Klan in Pulaski. This detective called Mr. Barmore, and he'd actually done a very good job, very successfully. And he was heading home to Nashville. Clearly he'd been rumbled, when a gang of masked men dragged him off and they took him into the woods and shot him.
It would make a great thriller, wouldn't it? It would make a good thriller.
It means it hasn't been done.
Going undercover in the Klan.
Yeah, undercover in the Klan. What a good story. This was a big story at the time. And some white business leaders started to get anxious about this and say that things are getting out of hand. And what was particularly worrying them was that the Republicans in Nashville were now saying to Brownlow, are you finally going to send in this armed state militia or not? She's been talking about for months. And on the 20th of January, Brownlow finally agreed to do it. This is 9 days after his detective was killed. He announced publicly, he says, there's a reign of terror in West Tennessee. I want to call up recruits to the militia. I will declare martial law. Let's occupy their towns, all of this kinds of thing. At this point, the Tennessee Klan clearly, so the Imperial Wizard, Nathan Bedford Forrest, issued an order. He said for everyone to go in and basically decommission their masks and disguises. So go to see your Grand Cyclops with your mask and disguise, you just destroy them in front of him. He says no more whippings, no more lynchings, no more beatings, none of this, no provocations. And incredibly, in the next few weeks, the Tennessee clan, the original one, actually disbands. So we don't know exactly when, but sometime in late spring or summer of 1869, the white Tennessee clan leadership basically renounces the clan.
For the final course, we have the fees.
Who will eat the fees? Grubhub will eat the fees.
Grubhub will eat the
Clan leadership basically renounces the clan, and that's the end of it. So it's a massive result in part of Brownlow, where it looks like it, but actually there's a twist. Oh no. The reason they've done it is partly because they don't actually need it anymore. Because Parson Brownlow has just gone off to Washington to become a United States Senator from Tennessee. And his replacement is a man inevitably called DeWitt Clinton Center. Clinton. And DeWitt Clinton Center is much less radical than Parson Brownlow. He says, I'll give Confederates the vote again, I'll disband the militia, and DeWitt Clinton Center does something that is very ominous. He says, obviously I respect the right to vote for everybody, including African Americans, as long as you can afford to pay a poll tax.
So essentially, in best Clinton manner, he's triangulating.
He is triangulating. He's triangulating in a way that is very disadvantageous to black voting. And basically, this is the story of the South in the next few years. This is what they're going to do. This is how the South is going to be, in inverted commas, redeemed for the Democratic Party and the cause of white supremacy. They will bring in all kinds of wheezes to stop black people voting, like poll taxes on literacy tests and so on. And so that September, a local newspaper in Tennessee prints what it claims is a last message from the Klan, which is attributed to the Grand Tycoon. I don't think we had a Grand Tycoon in the previous.
No, I don't think we did. This is Gilded Age development, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Robber Baron, man in the massive top hat. And the Grand Tycoon says, our mission on Earth to some extent is ended. For the present, and we hope forever, we are done. So that's then done in Tennessee. But outside Tennessee, the Klan rides on. Because outside Tennessee, nobody cares what the Imperial Wizard, General Forrest, wants. They're fighting their own battles. And the reason they're doing that, and why these battles are more vicious than ever, is that in some southern states, it's really only in 1869 or 1870 that the occupying US Army hands over power to elected radical Republican legislatures. So it's actually only at this point that in some of these states, like South Carolina or Louisiana or Mississippi, you see what enfranchising the former slaves really means. So if you take the example of those three states, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Mississippi, they had had very large slave populations before the war. And that means that basically when black people are given the vote, you are going to get hundreds of elected black officials. Many of them had been slaves right up to 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation. They had lived in plantation houses. They had literally belonged to the richest, most powerful, most conservative white men in the land, and now they're making the laws. So South Carolina sent 8 black men to Congress. Its state legislature in South Carolina had a black majority. Louisiana has a black governor, the first in American history, known with the excellent name of PBS Pinchback. And Mississippi has the first black United States senator, a man called Hiram Rhodes Reynolds. And these people, if you ever, well, if you're talking about the film The Birth of a Nation next week, if you watch that film, or if you read the book about American history, published up to about 1940, these people are portrayed as incompetent, stupid, corrupt, childish, totally ill-suited for political life. And actually, historians now would say that these descriptions are unbelievably racist. And actually, these guys were doing the best possible job they could in horrific circumstances and were completely traduced by generations of historians. And what those historians were reflecting is the fact that for white Southerners to have PBS Pinchback governing your state, or Hiram Rhodes Revels representing your state in the US Senate. It's an unbelievable affront. If you've been raised before the war in the worldview of white supremacy, and you don't even think that a black man is a human being, and you basically, I mean, to give you an example, this jumped out to me, this detail from one of the books, it was Alan Trelease. The white Southerners have been raised in a world where if you walk down the street and a black man bowed to you and said good morning to you, you would whip him. Even though he'd shown you this courtesy, you would whip him because he had dared to speak to you before you spoke to him. I mean, unbelievable. And now they've got a black governor. And now they've got a black governor. This is why. I mean, that worldview was so entrenched. I mean, that is the thing that's perhaps hardest for people in the 21st century, you know, outside that part of the world, to get their heads around just how deeply entrenched and how deeply embedded that worldview is. And that's what lies behind this surge of violence across places like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas in the next couple of years. I mean, we're talking about a death toll indefinitely in the hundreds, maybe 500, 600, 700 people if possible.
Oh, hi, Beorn. Oh, mommy has to finish cooking dinner.
In the first part of the 1970s.
Yes.
And in the Troubles in Northern Ireland, people often say of this violence, well, it's just mindless stuff. Which, you know, it's easy to say about the people that plan, but it's absolutely not mindless at all. It's very, very calculated. The brilliant historian of Reconstruction, the greatest European historian, Eric Foner, in his big book, Reconstruction, he says, quote, in effect, the plan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party, the planter class, and all those who desired the restoration of white supremacy. Its purpose was political in the broadest sense, to destroy the Republican Party's infrastructure, undermine the Reconstruction state, re-establish control of the black labor force, and restore racial subordination in every aspect of life. So Dominic, to pursue the
What's he want now?
The Ku Klux Klan are to the Democrats what the IRA are.
Daddy will help.
Yeah, I think that's not an unreasonable comparison. I think you could say they are the kind of armed wing of a political movement. Yeah. Because they've been supported by Democratic newspapers, they are very closely linked to Democratic politicians. You know, their aim is to destroy the Republican Party. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, to quote one Florida politician, the guy called Emmanuel Fortune, who was driven out of Jackson County, Florida by the Klan, he said the object of it is to kill the leading men of the Republican Party, men who've taken prominence down there. So there are many terrible stories, kind of torture, murder, and one else. It's just one example, and obviously it is a very good story, so avail yourselves. There's a guy called Abraham Colby, and he was the son of an Irish plantation owner and his slave. So he was born into slavery, the son of the owner, and then his father later freed him. He became a church minister. He was a brilliant speaker. In 1866, in the aftermath of the war, he organised a branch of the Equal Rights Association. He lived in Greene County, Georgia, and in 1868 he was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in Greene County. A year later, in 1869, in October, he was dragged from his bed by a mob of 60 Klansmen, and they took him out into the woods, along with his mother, his wife, and his daughter, who were in the cabin with him. And they stripped him naked in front of his family, and then they whipped him for 3 hours. And we know this because he testified to a congressional committee about it 3 years later. And he said of the men who attacked him, they weren't disguised. They didn't need to disguise themselves. He said, some of them are first-class men in our town. One was a lawyer, one a doctor, and some are farmers. They had their pistols, they took me in my night clothes and carried me from home. They hit me 5,000 blows. They said I was voted for Grant and had carried the Negroes against them. And while they're doing this, they're holding a gun to his little daughter's head. And I quote, they actually frightened her to death. She never got over it until she died. She died of shock. That was the part that really seemed the most. And the critic said to me, how long before you recovered from the effects of this treatment? Answer, I have never got over it yet. They broke something inside of me. I cannot do any work now for that way I always made my living before. You know, a really sad story. We don't have the eminence of this. There are larger scale attacks. There are attacks on Republican rallies. For example, at a place called Utah, Alabama, in 1874, people were killed. In an incredible story. 6 months later, Meridian, Mississippi, 3 black leaders were arrested by the white authorities who were basically leading the Klan for making what they said were incendiary speeches. And at a court hearing, they the Klansmen killed the judge at the court hearing, a Republican, and 2 of the defendants, and then ran amok in the town and killed about 30 people, including, and I quote, all of the leading colored men of the town. So, you know, you were asking before, how is it they're able to do this and get away with it? Well, basically, they said they stand against them, they kill you, and there are not enough federal rules to make a difference. And it's not enough in Washington or in the North to intervene on such a scale. You have to be a massive scale, right? You have to flood every southern county with troops in order to stop this.
And I suppose that every act of violence is a testing of the boundaries, a kind of stress testing of how able the federal government is to respond to outrages like this.
Yeah.
And so presumably, the more they realise they can get away with, the more the violence escalates.
Right. Well, you just keep doing it because it works. I mean, it works. So here's the other thing that you were asking about before. So Eric Foner used the phrase, and that bit I quoted from Eric Foner, he said it was political in the broadest sense. And you asked about people who can read and write and so on.
Mm-hmm.
The Klan is determined to crush churches and schools. They kill white teachers, black teachers. They will beat people who rent rooms to teachers. There's an example of an Irish teacher called William Lynch. He was working in a black school in Cross Plains, Alabama. He was dragged from his house and lynched. They will target people who can, as I said, who can read and write, who have their own land, who have their own livestock, people who don't doff their hats to white passers-by, people who don't give up the sidewalk, the pavement, people who speak disrespectfully. They will even attack, quote, women who dress up and fix up like they thought anything of themselves. Some of those black women who have a little bit about them.
So basically, it's about keeping them in heritage.
Yes, completely it is. So it's an awful picture, a terrible picture, and yet we haven't actually got to the worst of it, because there is one county where the Klan wields unparalleled power. Its word is law and you cannot challenge it. To quote Alan Trelease, the brilliant historian of the first Klan, in this county, in every subject, the Klan was supreme. A juggernaut propelled forward by the size and character of its membership and the terror it inspired in every person in the county, including its own members. And this place was York County, South Carolina. And we will find out what happened there and how Grant administration was finally roused to fight back against and destroy the Klan after the break.
Hello everyone and welcome back to The Rest is History. We are now in the state of South Carolina, and South Carolina of course had played a key role in the Civil War. It had been the first southern state to secede from the Union back in December 1860, and it had been the state where the first shots of the Civil War had been fired in April 1861. So Dominic, what is the context in South Carolina? What is the kind of the racial balance, all of that kind of thing?
Its population is about 60% black and 40% white. Now, given those racial demographics, it will not surprise people to know that in 1868 it had voted Republican. It had voted for Ulysses S. Grant. And in 1870, it elected as governor a former United States Northern Army officer called Robert Kingston Scott, and it voted him in by a margin of 60 to 40. So basically the voting completely follows the racial demographics. Now, the state legislature I mentioned in the first half has a black majority, again reflecting the demographics of the state. So in any fair election, it is pretty obvious that South Carolina will always go with the Republicans, unless there's some, they've been incredibly corrupt or something. The white Southerners in South Carolina are never going to get their way. And they were furious and horrified at the result of the 1870 gubernatorial election. So Alex Trelease, in his History of the Klan, quotes the Charleston Daily News. Now, unbelievably, this was a moderate Democratic newspaper. So this is what a moderate Democratic newspaper sounds like. We regard the solid black vote cast against the nominees of our party as a declaration of war by the Negro race against the white race, by ignorance against intelligence, by poverty against wealth. And the Charleston Daily News went on to say, it is now the duty of white men to organize and arm in the name of decency, purity, and political freedom. To repeat, this is a moderate newspaper, not an extreme one. And so this sets the tone for 2 years of horrendous violence in upstate South Carolina in what's called the Piedmont region. This is a region where black and white are pretty evenly divided, so it's kind of all. And the very worst county is York County. And in York County, almost every single white man joined the Ku Klux Klan. So this is right at the top of, if you look at the map, it's the top of South Carolina. It's just south of the city of Charlotte in North Carolina today. It was a rural county, about 25,000 people, cotton, cereals, that kind of thing. The Klan had been founded there in 1868. It had been actually reasonably quiet until the 1870 election for governor, which the Republicans had narrowly won in the county by about 500 votes. And that was the spark that basically set off, this kind of racist bonfire. I'm not sure where this metaphor is going. But anyway, in the next few weeks after that election, the Klan spreads exponentially. The local leader was the sheriff, Major James W. Avery. He was a Confederate war veteran. He was actually wounded at Appomattox on the last day of the war, the last morning of the war. And he was a planter, big wig in the local area. He owned a big store in Yorkville, which was the kind of county seat. And he's one of many bigwigs involved with the Klan. So another one is one of the county's richest landowners, a man called William C. Black. And it was William C. Black who ordered the first notable murder, and this was the murder of a man called Tom Roundtree. Tom Roundtree was a spokesman for the African-American, the freedmen of the county. And he was a married man with children. And in December 1870, a mob of Klansmen came to his house, they dragged him out, they shot him, and they cut his throat. His widow was able to identify some of the killers, but this landowner, William C. Black, paid for the defense of the killers. He organized it, he sought their alibis for them, and in the end, Mrs. Roundtree and her children were driven from their home and had to flee the county. And that set the tone for weeks of violence. 11 people murdered, hundreds of people beaten and whipped, including women and children. 5 black schools were burned down. One of them was burned down 4 times. They kept rebuilding it and they just burned it down again. And to give people a bit of context, this is in a county, all of these killings and burnings and whatnot is in a county with a population roughly the size of the town of Stratford-upon-Avon today. So imagine, the furore, right? If so many people were to be killed in Stratford-upon-Avon, but obviously this is in the context of the 1870s when violence is much more common.
Delivering more deals so you can watch more basketball. Right now, get a buy one, get one free pizza from Papa John's to get food to watch basketball. And then more food.
Stratford-upon-Avon. But obviously this is in the context of the 1870s when violence is much more common.
Well, we talked about strategies and how far you can go and kind of testing the boundaries of domestic behaviour. And this must surely be pushing
Sure don't.
those boundaries to the extreme. I mean, can the federal government ignore
It's all good though. You put way
violence
better
on
than
this
the
scale?
Papa. So.
Well, what they do is the federal government did send in some troops. They sent in detachments of troops in late February. But that area, the federal troops generally, when they're sent in, they don't do anything. They don't really have orders what to do. Who are they going to fight? They're always told cooperate please with the local authorities.
So they're like UN peacekeepers.
They're like totally like UN peacekeepers. They're like UN peacekeepers at Srebrenica or something, standing idly by. Because the people they're meant to be working with are actually the people who are carrying out the crimes.
Yeah.
So the Klansmen actually, after the federal troops came in, they carried on killing people, and then on the 6th of March, they carried out one of the most notorious of all Klan murders. This was the murder of a man called Jim Williams. Jim Williams was about 40 years old. He'd been a slave in York County before the war, but he escaped. He'd run away. He joined the Northern Army, and then he came back to his old county after the war. He spoke out against the Klan, and he organised a militia. This goes back to your point about why don't black people arm themselves. Well, he did, and this is what happened. He used the local Union League, the sort of political organisation for the freedmen, to arm themselves. Let's protect ourselves, all of this kind of thing. We're not going to take this lying down. And the Klan, one county where the Klan wheels on. There are larger scale attacks. So there are attacks on Republican rallies, for example, in a place called Utah, Alabama.